Another well-known personality, June Thorpe.
I'm actually the founder chairman of Romsey Quilters and have been associated very closely with it, both as a chairman and as a teacher throughout the years in which it's been established. Heather is now our new chairman and has only taken over this month, and I wish her the very best of luck in directing and going ahead with Romsey Quilters.
Thank you. Thank you. We are a large group. We have 200 members, approximately, limits it to that number, and most weeks 80 to 100 people attend the meetings. We meet twice a month, and this morning we're having a working morning at which we have about 75 people sewing, to make things ready for the exhibition. As it's easy from actual work that you don't need any qualification, but it's so popular, there's usually a waiting list to join.
Romsey Quilters was established in 1983, and this morning we're all working very hard to get ready for our 5th exhibition associated with the Romsey Arts Festival. We always hold our exhibition in the Abbey, and we're particularly proud this coming year, 1999, that in fact we're going to have Pauline Burbage, a quilt artist of international repute, who's coming to be our quilt artist in residence. So she will be running classes and workshops, not only just for the adults, but for the young people of Romsey and Mountbatten schools. It's a great privilege to be associated with Romsey Quilters, and over the years we have raised a tremendous amount of money for various charities. This year in particular we're concentrating on Romsey Hospital Appeal. We have a quilt already being made and raffled at Christmas, and yet another quilt already stretched and ready for quilting to be raffled at the actual exhibition.
Morning, John. How's the appeal going?
The appeal's going incredibly well. We're now up to 60,000, and we hope to start building at the end of October. And when the first phase is finished in probably next April, by then we will have to raise another 100,000 to actually pay for it all, and we're very confident we can do that. So things are going very well.
So this is only mid-October?
Yeah.
King John's House is a stone and flint built building which dates back to the 13th century. Anne James is the house manager, and it relies on many others for voluntary help to man it and to describe to our tourist friends what we have here. We see here evidence of cattle bones which were used to create a kind of foundation. The early history of King John's house is largely unknown, but 1306 is an important date In that year, it was used as a guest house for members of King Edward I's retinue. They left behind graffiti cut into the wall plaster with their daggers, and the scratchings include identifiable coats of arms and a caricature of Edward I wearing his crown. Vera Edwards is one of the many voluntary stewards who help at King John's house, and there's Nancy. Here is a fairly early view of the Romsey Abbey. Reconstruction of a period garden was opened to the public on the 29th of April 1995. Dissolution of the monasteries in 1539, the land now called King John's Garden belonged to the Romsey Benedictine Nunnery. Here we see the old-fashioned myrtle. And so whatever else King John's house may be famous for, they certainly enjoyed their banquets, as you can see here in the 14th century. Visitors today are Mrs. Rogers with Embley Park Junior School.
So it just keeps... So this is a leather shoe with a rabbit fur insole. Keeps my foot comfy and keeps it warm. Okay.
This is known as the White Company, who aim to portray everyday life in the late 15th century through careful research and reconstructed clothing and artifacts. They have created medieval crafts and a living history.
Pies were made not with an edible crust, but with a very thick, salty crust. The idea is it's really like the medieval equivalent of a baked bean tin, so that you can keep the meat inside the pie for ages and ages, and it'll still be fresh when it comes out. So the idea is you throw the pastry away and eat what's inside. What ordinary people eat every day is pottage, and this is made out of any grains or pulses or beans that you've got around. These are chickpeas. We soak them overnight, and then in the morning they'll be boiled up with whatever green things we can find. The basis of the pottage is just the pulses, and then you chuck in whatever you've got. We've got some cabbages, there'll be loads of garlic and leeks because it's that time of year. French people used to complain that Englishmen stank of garlic because they loved it so much. And then you'd have some cheese if it was the right period of the year, and certainly some ham if you were lucky enough to have some meat. People ate fish all the time. Oysters were not a luxury but an everyday item, and you weren't allowed to give your apprentices oysters more than 3 times a week. Or salmon. Salmon's also a very common meat under the period.
Yes. It's got spaghetti water in it. There's pitch. There's hot pitch has been put on the inside.
You know what pictures? Drinking water. Smells like what? Why is he drinking water right? Because they wear off.
Well, they do eventually. All shoes wear out eventually.
But then you send them to the cobbler to get them patched. You get new shoes from a shoemaker and you get shoes mended at the cobbler's.
What animal do you think it comes from?
A geese.
Well done.
She was listening. At least she was listening.
listening. And what? Over 500 years old. And what was in here?
Gum.
Gum Arabic. And if I take gum Arabic, bury it in the soil, squash it and compress it under...
It will go under.
Fossilised.
Tanger.
And what's this? No,
It's
don't
a
you?
flint. No.
That's a flint. And that's, what's it made out of?
Iron.
Steel. Flint and steel. What do I use it for?
Sharpen, make fire. Just look out there.
You'll sit by your nose now, aren't you?
Sit by my nose. See? Sparks coming off. Here we are.
It's all right. That's a knife and a half. You call that a knife?
That's what they call a bollock dagger.
Really? Charming.
Why do you think that is?
No, I know. Oh, really hurt.
This type of sword is called a rebated sword. It's got blunt edges and a blunt tip, so you can practice with it reasonably safely. But the real thing would be extremely pointed, because in this period it had been used to try and break open the male rings.
Two-handed or?
No, single. And you'd have had a little shield called a buckler. There was a technique of fighting in the 15th century where they fought with a sword and a buckler, which was a very small iron shield, and which the term swashbuckling comes from that period, using a buckler.
At the bottom of King John's garden, a wooden shelter is being erected. This will be a distribution point for information and leaflets about King John's house. It is made in the early and traditional way using green oak. There's a traditional joint. No nails or screws are used. Upon leaving the garden, I noticed one solitary pear. It's August, and Dr. Peter Johnson is holding a garden party.
$25 each, please.
Have some money first. Would you like the bottle of He holds a bottle in my hand, can I? Why not?
Right? Peter, thank you for having us here today at your garden party.
Kind of you to come.
Not at all, they're very nice of you.
I look forward to your visitations every year.
Oh, do you?
More the merrier.
Hello, Martin.
He always likes a bit of bottle.
Thank you very much, and there's your ticket back.
Well done.
This lady has won the champagne. It's a £70 bottle. Wow, look at that.
Yes.
Lovely. There's the Mayor of Test Valley, Councillor Tony Jackson.
Particularly beautiful.
It really is.
That and the chain is insured for 10,000.
Good.
Test Valley was put together in 1972-73 with the reorganisation of local government, and it comprised Romsey and Stockbridge rural district councils and Andover rural district council, and and it was decided to apply for borough status, which they did, and in 1974 it became a borough, which means that you get a mayor. And we needed a coat of arms, and the current MP for Romsey and Waterside, Michael Colvin, was a councillor at the time on Test Valley, and he was partly responsible for commissioning this particular coat of arms. The basic shield, the central basic shield, you will see is in green and white rivulets, and that is to represent the River Test, which is the backbone of Test Valley, and its tributaries. And of course the fish leaping out is a trout, and that is, the River Test is obviously famous for fishing the trout. The golden heart with its Andover colours on its emblazoned on it, and in the centre of the coat of the colours is the Andover oak from the Andover shield. Balancing it on the other side is the Romsey stag with the Romsey colours, and in the centre of that you can just see the portcullis, which is part of the Romsey coat of arms. Right at the top of the badge you have what was the Andover lion standing on the little green hillock. That came from the Andover flag. The castellations comes from the Romsey coat of arms. There's two sheaves of corn, one either side, to depict Andover as a rural district and Romsey as a rural district. The crozier at the top is there essentially for Romsey Abbey, Bishop, Abbot, and also other similar establishments like Mottersfont. So that recognises that. The motto is a play on words, the Latin, Deo Teste Valiemus, which I'm told in broad terms says put your trust in God and you'll be all right.
Good. Thank you.
Can we stick out for a wet? Oh dear.
You can squat on it. See?
I know you do. I know.
You don't sit on it. You squat on it, and in the museums and that kind of thing.
Yes.
And actually, in conversations I get, nobody really knows that
I remember it all happening. Yes. So my love.
Don't know that I'm really sat down or resting.
Never know when you're sat down or drunk or anything, do we? That's nice. I got a nice little story on there.
How's this then? You've about 70 bottles to give away here.
Oh, really? Yeah. This is a mulberry tree which is growing in Dr. Johnson's garden. It's beautiful. On the afternoon of the 6th of September, the Earl Mountbatten branch of the Royal British Legion are on parade here. They are marching towards Romsey Abbey for an annual memorial service to Earl Mountbatten. And here too are some of the members of the Romsey Old Cadets.
Nothing, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Nathan, and I'm president of the Guild of Glass Engravers.
Wonderful. And this is Christine, who has made this beautiful bowl.
Presented 4 years ago.
Ah.
Romsey Abbey is here, and which is where Neil was serving after 25 years. And around this side is St Asaph Cathedral in Wales, which is where he was ordained.
It's actually interesting that you've got the Abbey from the east and Asaph from the west. Much more interesting.
It's what they call case glass. It's been cased twice. First pink and then blue. And as you go through the blue, your engraving becomes pink. And as you go through the pink, it becomes clear. And depending on how much you go through, you can get the different tones of the colours. And yes, it's been cut away.
That's been cut away.
Yes,
Right, so if you were to feel it, you would have got the texture.
Still there? No?
Anyway, when I stood by the door, he was one of the first ones out. He just raised
Are you a champagne man, Mike? Are you a champagne man?
Oh, dear, no, no. One coming.
Thank you, Graham.
You've got to get yours first.
Oh, that's interesting.
Now this one, that number 90, the mermaid's costume, it's a goblet, but it's a nonsense drawing, rather like a nonsense poem. The more you look at it, the more there is to see, the more you're drawn into the piece. Fascinating. Fascinating.
What is this piece called? Dawn.
Now this piece is Di's funeral, which I'm sure is Diana, Princess of Wales. An ice bucket by David Scurfield. Incredibly interesting.
Hi, Grace.
Take that, Mum.
Fine, look at that.
And now meet Tracy Shepherd. She's the designer of this particular piece of glassware.
Okay. And what do you call this one?
This is Shirley Palmer's Two Men in a Boat.
Two Men in a Boat. Ah. That's great.
All right.
Thank you very much, Tracy.
You're very welcome. Can I get down now?
I'm sorry, it's really stupid.
Ken Fordham is the president, and he's doing the marking of the Romsey Bowling Club on this September afternoon.
Of the men's final.
The men's final, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the championships on this first run here, on this slightly showery morning, or should we say afternoon? Mark's not on, Joe.
Hello, Joe.
All right.
Today is the culmination of the events that have taken place through the summer in the Romsey Bowling Club's end of the year competitions. Today's finals day. There's quite a mixture. There's ladies pairs, men's singles, men's handicap, ladies handicap, and so it goes on right through the afternoon.
Quite a thriving club, really.
Oh, it's a very good club.
How many members do you think you have?
We've got 100 men and 60 ladies at the moment.
Fordham here, he's the president and he's also the marker. He's being rather pensive there now. I wonder what's happening.
Oh, he's going to measure.
Oh, they're measuring. Quite complicated here because they're so close, aren't they?
Yeah. We'll split in a minute when he gives the results.
That is the scoring on this particular round. Yes.